My name's John Paton. I was born in County Sligo, back in 1806, when Ireland was a hungry place and work was thin on the ground. But I had work. I worked with horses as a stableman. I was 5'7½", freckled to the hilt, brown hair, grey eyes, and a smart mouth that got me into more trouble than it ever got me out of. I could read, which only meant I could understand the bad news when it came. When I was 21, myself and two Aegis mates, Robert Markham and Edward Robinson, broke into a house belonging to a Mr. Balance. I made off with a comb. That's right. Not a chest of gold or a cask of whiskey, but a bloody comb. They charged us with burglary, larceny in a dwelling house, they called it, and they sentenced me to hang for it. Hang. Over a comb. You'd swear we'd swiped the king's wig the way they carried on. Well, I wasn't too keen on being dead, so I thought I'd try me luck. One Sunday evening I climbed up a prison drain spout. I'd made it just to the top when some nosy bugger spotted me. So I did what any sensible man would do. I panicked completely and threw myself off the wall. I landed in the moat like a sack of wet turnips, nearly snapped me neck, soaked to the bone and half drowned for good measure. Didn't get far either. The warders fished me out like a prize trout and dragged me back to me cell. And as I'm lying there, coughing up pond water, I remember thinking, well, John, that went poorly. After all that, they changed their minds and gave me life instead of death, and life meant transportation to the far side of the world. So, in July 1827, they chained me up on a ship called John. Fitting, isn't it? And off we sailed for New South Wales. 185 of us, packed in together. 3 never made it, and 7 went straight from the ship to the hospital when we arrived. The rest of us were spewed out in Sydney Cove that November, scrawny, burnt and sun-blinded, wondering what sort of hell we'd landed in. They sent me out to Richmond, to work for a fellow named Thomas Markwell. He'd been a convict himself, years before, came out on the Scarborough too. By the time I got there, he'd been granted 30 acres. He had 100 cattle, 700 sheep, and, God help him, me. There was another poor sod named James Whitby working alongside. Hard days, but there was food, and that was something. 11 long years I wore the mark of a convict. Then, in January 1838, aged 32, they handed me a ticket of leave. Freedom, of sorts. I had to stay a year working for Mr. Harry Hewitt at Patrick's Plains, and before that year was out, I'd found something better than freedom. I'd found Elizabeth All. Now, to marry a good woman when you're still half a prisoner takes a bit of charm and a lot of paperwork. But in March 1837 we got permission, and on April 29th we married in Maitland. Elizabeth's father, Robert All, later granted us 30 acres at Currajong. Good land with proper soil, and for once I was working for myself. We had 13 children, if you can believe it, 8 boys and 5 girls. I'll admit, there were mornings I wasn't sure who was who. We eventually shifted west to Molong, where I became a storekeeper. I also, for a time, held the licence for the Australian Arms Hotel out Buckenbaugh Way, near Yeovil. I won't deny it. I felt I'd earned the right to have a pint or two under my own roof. I drew my last breath in Molong on July 22nd, 1892, at the ripe old age of 87. Not bad for a lad once sentenced to die for stealing a comb. From Sligo to Sydney, from chains to freedom, a convict to a publican. I walked a rough old road, most of it uphill. But it led me home in the end. So, if you ever find yourself cursing your luck, remember this old Irishman. I started with nothing but freckles, folly, and a stolen comb, and somehow built a life worth passing down. Cheers to that, and to all the Patons yet to come.
I'm old Botany Bay, stiff in the joints, little to say. I am he who paved the way that you might walk at your ease today. I was the conscript sent to hell to make in the desert the living well. I bore the heat, I blazed the track, furrowed and bloody upon my back. Oh, Botany Bay, your wind still cries through time and toil beneath these skies. The chains are gone, but the echoes stay. Old Botany Bay, old Botany Bay. Now stand you free where once I lay. The dream I built won't fade away. Raise your glass to the ghosts that stay. Old Botany Bay.